Hi, this is Annie Fox for Family Confidential, Secrets of Successful Parenting. My guest today is Dr. Beth Onufrak. She's a clinical psychologist in private practice in Phoenix, Arizona. Dr. Beth is all about helping children thrive, starting in the toddler, preschool, and early elementary years. Hi, Beth. Welcome to Family Confidential.
Good morning, Annie. So nice to be with you.
Well, it's certainly nice to see you finally after all these email exchanges. This is what I love about Twitter and social media is that you can actually be friends and get a really nice sense of people before you ever connect with them. And then you get that nice sense reinforced when you're actually talking. So thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Well, I was just on your website and I wanted to find out more about your concept about thriving children because, we don't hear this word thrive very much. And I love it as a gardener. I want my plants to thrive. So can you give me a definition of what is a thriving child?
Oh, absolutely. I hear the word thrive every time a family meets me for the first time in what's the first appointment is called a parent intake. And this is a word that comes up over and over again I ask a question at the end of my intake paperwork that says, say that you were to run into somebody 6 months from now, somebody that knows your family and your child very well, but hasn't seen you in a while, and things have gotten better somehow. What would you like to be able to say? And that is the area of the paperwork where the word thrive comes up the most. And they say, I want to be able to say, he is just thriving. She is just blossoming in every way. The other thing they want is for their child to have some better coping skills, and which I think is connected with their thriving. But it's a word I hear all the time.
Okay, so I know with young children, and those are the parents of young children are the ones that you work with. Do you work with the children directly as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Glad to hear that.
Preschool through the primary grade years are my specialty.
Okay, and I know that part of growing up is learning to manage destructive emotions. And so when you mention coping skills, that's the first place that my brain goes to. I would like, if I say my kid is thriving, that he or she is no longer having a meltdown when I say, no, sweetheart, you can't have another cookie. It's too close to dinner.
Yes.
We on the same page here?
We're on the same page. This is my daily bread.
Okay, so the coping skills, I mean, part of it is just like learning what it's like to navigate this human existence with these emotions that sometimes in a hairpin trigger flare up without our bidding. And for adults, they can be overwhelming. So you can imagine for a 4-year-old, for example, my goodness, I want it now, and you won't give it to me. I feel frustrated. I feel angry. I feel powerless. And yet we as the parent and or teacher want our children to learn how to deal with that. It's hard. So what advice can you give parents?
Yes. Well, that is what I'm doing pretty much all day long, either in the clinic or my office setting here, working with families one-on-one, or in my workshops and seminars where I try to disseminate that information more broadly. Well, the way I think about it is that emotions, especially for the young child, are awfully difficult to manage. For one, you can't see and touch a feeling. When you're learning colors, you can see something that's yellow, you can learn how that's written, but a feeling, it just emerges from within, like a volcano or a tsunami, really is what children describe, how they describe it to me. And also, it's awfully difficult for them to get words on those feelings. And so often what just comes out is a torrent of, I hate you, you're the worst, you don't love me, instead of, I really had my heart set on this, my heart and soul set on this, and I'm devastated that I can't have it right now. And for me, a thriving child is not one who never has a meltdown, because we all have meltdowns.
Yep.
And it's awfully hard to think straight during a meltdown as well. Annie, I'm sure that you, as well as I, have had moments where we said, I was just so mad I couldn't even think straight.
Right.
And yet, as adults, we're often very much asking kids to think straight in the middle of a meltdown. Like, if you calm down right now, then we'll be able to have this thing. And if you don't, it's just going to last longer, and it's kind of logical
Okay,
thinking.
so
It's
you're
not
asking
happening.
them to do something that at that moment they physically cannot do because, as I know, their brain is kind of working against them. They're in emergency fired up mode.
They absolutely are. Their limbic system, that kind of batch of structures in the middle of the brain, is on fire. And when your limbic system is on fire, it actually takes blood flow and oxygen from the frontal lobes where we do problem solving. And so when the child's in the middle of a limbic meltdown, logic and words and consequences, they seem to the adult mind like they're going to work, but they're just not going to work at all.
Okay, I'm going to stop you for a second because I can imagine with many parents, when your kid is in a limbic meltdown, you too start getting into a limbic meltdown,
That's right.
especially if you're in a public place or you
Mhm.
need to get that kid out the door because you've got an appointment. It's school, it's,
Yes.
a million other things. And you
Hmm.
don't have, quote, time for this, or
Yes.
there are prying, judging eyes from who I call the bad parent police.
Yes.
Um, and so it's really, really hard for you to model the kind of calm
Yeah.
response, not
Yeah.
necessarily talky, but the kind
Yes.
of calm response that the kid needs. So, Dr.
So,
Beth, what can I
yes.
do here?
Yes. Oh, what
Very
I
good. That was
always
good. That was a breathing.
I
Feels better.
guess I'm kind of modeling it a bit. What I always tell parents is that it really is so unfair that your child's calm depends upon your calm. It's
Unfair,
completely unfair.
really.
However, there is no other way around it. There is no other way around it. It's not my opinion. It's a law of gravity that when the parent is upset, and I talk about elevators. When the child's upset, elevators going up to sixth floor of the anchor building, and if the parent's elevator goes up to the seventh floor, then we're just gonna blow through the top of the building.
Yeah.
And so I spend a lot of time in my parent workshops and seminars on this part early on, helping explain to folks from a brain science point of view why they're upset, why parent upsetness, A, doesn't work, and B, actually prevents your child from coping because it flares up the limbic system.
Yeah.
This, I find, is the most transformative piece of information that I deliver, and so I'm happy to kind of share it with you as well.
Please.
It's why yelling never works, because yelling just inflames that, as you've aptly called it, the threat center there in the limbic system. And so as long as the kids are feeling, well, now not only am I not getting this thing that I want, but now my parents making that face and they're screaming at me really loud, and now I'm
Scary.
going to lose something.
Uh-huh.
Problem solving doesn't have a prayer.
No.
And collecting yourself at that point isn't going to happen at all. And so I empathize with parents, most of all by saying that, please don't think I'm some saint here sitting here in, complete composure all day long, because that's not how I live. But trying to catch yourself in the middle of that explosion inside and just remember, A, this will not work. B, this will set back what I'm trying to accomplish.
Counterproductive.
Yeah. Yeah. It's unfair. It's totally unfair that that the parent emotion dictates the child's coping, but it's how it goes. I see child coping in these early years as a joint venture between parent and child. When you ask me what a thriving child is, well, folks often bring their kids to me because they want me to teach the child something to do when he gets upset. And somewhere along the way, they say, oh, you're actually kind of helping my child by teaching me, aren't you?
Yeah.
And I say, well, yes, only because your child's coping is intertwined with your coping. And so,
Yeah.
as supportively as I can, I try to help bring families to a new place.
So this sounds like the kind of training I got in my puppy training class in a way. If there is behavior that the dog is doing that you don't want, to be yelling at the dog isn't helpful because, they're tuned into your anxiety levels in the same way. And yet when you come from a calm, certain place, when you put your own oxygen mask on first,
Exactly.
and then you are in a much better place, A, to model and just, to to handle what's going on. Take the child away from maybe the trigger that's stressing them out. Give them an opportunity to calm down, and then later, depending on what their language development skills are, then you can debrief from it and take whatever lessons, so that the next time, and you better believe there will be a next time,
Yes.
there is a meltdown of some sort. Your child now can say, okay, I do remember that, and this is what worked. I'm going to try harder to move in that direction versus this direction, which only makes things worse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of breathing. So parenting is one of those lifelong occupations
Mm-hmm.
with the well, let's not say the challenges. There are opportunities to
Mm-hmm.
help yourself as an adult individual become more grounded, because your kid is
Mm-hmm.
going to be reminding you all the time that they need your leadership.
Yes. Yes. It's awfully hard to calm down in the moment. And one of the things that I emphasize in my parent workshop, actually both savvy solutions for your challenging young child and the child sight method, I encourage folks to reflect after the fact. Um, Whoa, that was a really difficult exchange. I know I didn't handle that the way I wanted to. And many folks sit on my couch right over there, quite embarrassed, sheepish, saying, oh boy, I know that is not how I should have handled things, almost apologizing to me,
Mm-hmm.
just feeling so bad about it. In the moment, it's hard to grab control, but afterwards, I suggest that they kind of take some moments after that and say, oh man, if I could have done that again, what might have been a way that I could have calmed myself in the moment? Count to 10 backwards. Say, apples, oranges, peaches, banana, whatever. A variety of coping things that they could kind of rehearse at a calm time to maybe have a
Yes.
little bit more available online at another time. And nobody's perfect. I also talk with folks about, um, the expression, on first thought, oh, and on second thought. I say, well, we've got first response and second response. We've got
Right.
that all the time. And a parent can have a blow up moment and then say, hold it. I am really sorry. I know yelling at you at this moment is not helping. Let me take a moment, honey. Why don't you take a moment, honey? Let's shake it out together.
Mm-hmm.
Whew, let's blow out some birthday candles together.
Blow out birthday candles. I
Okay.
like that.
Yeah. Erase, erase, erase. Okay. How about you and me start this again, Jeremy? Let's just try this one more time.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, that kind of awareness
mm-hmm,
that your choices matter, and
mm-hmm,
that you're more likely to do things that you will later feel good about rather than regret if you
mm-hmm,
take that moment. And that moment is, wow, Beth, as we were just talking at the beginning, how quickly emotions flare up. And it's like, I think about it as a runaway train, just
mm-hmm,
heading right to the cliff. And you have a very small window of opportunity between the time you notice the acceleration to the time the train actually goes over the cliff. And then
yes.
you do or say something you later regret. You have a very small window of opportunity to put the brakes on. And so what I like to tell people, and I'm guessing you probably do similar things, is instead of always trying to play catch up and repair
Mm-hmm,
damages, which is great because you learn from those things, to
mm-hmm,
become more mindful of what your boiling point is, so that you can start to see when you're starting to feel those feelings of
mm-hmm.
acceleration.
Yes,
And what can
yes,
you do
yes,
at that time to just like calm down?
yes.
It's always breathing, isn't it? I mean, it's like
It is. Well, it's how the body works. It's how the parasympathetic nervous system calms down. It's like I said, it's not even my opinion. That's just science.
it's just the way it works. And when
And
you
it's
get
just how it
your
works.
breathing
Yeah.
going, your heart rate lowers, and then you're more likely to be in that place in your brain where you actually can make more thoughtful decisions.
Yes. Yes. And because it's so hard to do these things in the moment, I
Yeah.
often encourage folks as they encounter minor frustrations during their day, like, I can't find my car keys and I have to leave in 3 minutes ago, that take a moment if your child is around to say, oh, yes, this is a moment where I can kind of model a
Oh,
coping
great.
skill.
I like it.
um, Grabbing hold of, or maybe that's too urgent an issue if you're if you need your car keys, but like you open the fridge and you had wanted to have some cereal and you open the fridge and there's no milk.
No milk. Have you
And
been
I
in our
say,
fridge? There was no milk this morning.
and I say, folks, grab that opportunity. It is a low-level stressor that you've got full control over. Say your thoughts out loud. Oh, man, I had my heart set on that cereal and there's no milk. Ugh! What's my feeling? I am frustrated and I'm disappointed and I'm kind of sad. Well, honey, what am I going to do about it? Well, I think I better do some breathing and show your child you're breathing. And say, well, I'm feeling a little bit cooler now, and I'm just going to have to, here's my 3 favorite words, I'm going to have to change my plan.
Change my
Just going to have to
plan.
change my plan. My plan was to have that cereal. But what's another way that I can still stay happy this morning?
Oh, so you're asking your child for input?
You're kind of saying out loud to
Okay.
yourself, kind of making your coping process in this low-level stressor audible and visual to your child.
Lovely.
Which goes miles and miles. Folks don't expect that this is what I'm going to be telling them when they bring me their 4 and their 5 and their 6-year-old. They think I'm going to be telling her what to do. And this perhaps is the biggest message of my career, really, how I've come to feel about young child development, that coping is a joint venture between parent and child. And from what I'm learning, and what we're all learning increasingly about brain science, is that all these interactions, especially in these really critical young years, they're literally building your child's brain, literally wiring in pathways of calm, effective coping, or pathways of explosion that can sort of become what I sort of call emotional habits over time.
No, this is really great stuff. Oh, I'm so glad that we talked because,
Me
this
too.
morning when I couldn't find the milk, I was a little bit stressed and disappointed.
Yes.
This is great. Before we leave, Beth, can you please tell our listeners and viewers where they can find out more about your interesting work?
Oh, thank you so much. The quickest place is to go to my website, which is drbethkids.com. That's drbethkids.com. And that leads you to other online resources of mine, my blog, which is called A Child in Mind, which is kind of a series of little mini essays about clinical pieces of advice I find myself giving over and over, or what's hit me that day, as you well know. Also on there is a list of the workshops and seminars that I offer. My full fall lineup is available there to see, and registration and details. Also, my media page is there, which is a link to some other online content pieces that I've done on TV or radio, and I'll soon be adding this nice podcast.
Oh, well, great. Thank you so much for the work that you do, Beth. I'm sure that you help so many families and kids. And when those kids grow up, they'll take those new learning skills into the families that they build. So
I
what
have
could be
no
better?
great hope.
That is wonderful. I talk about it as working for world peace, one family at a time.
Oh, I love that. As
Yes,
well as
sure.
all the other work that you do, Annie. Thank you so much for all that you do for families.
Thank you. And thank you for being with me today.
A pleasure.
This is Annie Fox for Family Confidential. To learn more about my work with tweens, teens, and parents, visit anniefox.com. And please check out my book, Teaching Kids to Be Good People, Progressive Parenting for the 21st Century. Tune in next week when my guest will be Dr. Deborah Gilboa, aka Dr. G. Dr. G and I will be talking about her new book, which is called How to Get the Behavior You Want Without Being the Parent You Hate. Until next time, happy parenting.